Hello and welcome to the Capitol Report on NTD Television. I'm Steve Lance. Ronna McDaniel has been re-elected to chair the Republican National Committee for another term, but not all members of the RNC are happy with the outcome. NTD's Jason Perry brings us more.
On Friday, 168 members of the Republican National Committee voted for the next chairman of the Republican National Committee, or RNC, and Ronna McDaniel was elected for her fourth term. She received 111 of the 168 votes. The chair of the Kansas Republican Party said, "We need the continuity at this point in time. There's really no one challenging her that offers anything that is materially different than what she will do as our leader." McDaniel ran against My Pillow CEO Mike Lindell and Harmeet Dillon, who was a legal advisor to former President Donald Trump's 2020 campaign. Lindell said this on Steve Bannon's War Room shortly before the vote.
No matter what happens today, we need to hold either one of them accountable for our election platforms. The people want me in there for number one reason: straighten out our elections and straighten out the RNC so people will have trust bringing back to the RNC.
Lindell received 4 of the 168 votes and Dillon 51. Dillon is pushing for the RNC headquarters to be moved out of D.C. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis agreed with the idea in an interview with Charlie Kirk.
So I think you get it in real parts of the country. You attract people who want to live in those parts of the country, not D.C. insiders. But I do think we need some fresh thinking. And here's the thing, just practically speaking, you need grassroots Republicans to power this organization with volunteering and donations. I think it's going to be very difficult to energize people to want to give money, to want to volunteer their time with the RNC if they don't see a change in direction.
The Republican parties in Texas and Alabama declared they have, quote, no confidence in McDaniel's leadership. Jason Perry, NTD News.
Former President Trump is planning to speak in New Hampshire before his rally in South Carolina on Saturday. The events will kick off Trump's presidential campaign for 2024. You can watch a live stream of the South Carolina rally at ntd.com. And police have released body cam footage of the attack on Paul Pelosi last year in his San Francisco home. And just a warning, the video you are about to see shows the attack, and some viewers may find it disturbing. David DePape was allegedly armed with a hammer when he entered the Pelosi's California home in the early morning hours on October 28th. Security camera footage shows him swinging it against a glass door to enter. Then House Speaker Nancy Pelosi was in Washington at the time. 82-year-old Paul says that he told the assailant that he needed to use the bathroom, and that's when he managed to call 911. Officers arrive and see Pelosi and DePape holding the hammer.
Drop the hammer.
Nope.
Hey. What is going on right now?
I'm not getting an answer.
That's when DePape wrestles control of the hammer and hits Pelosi in the head with it. Officers rush in to restrain DePape and take him into custody. No motive has been released. Pelosi told police DePape had repeatedly asked him, "Where is Nancy?" DePape is pleading not guilty to assault and attempted murder charges. Paul Pelosi was hospitalized and underwent surgery for a fractured skull. Representative Nancy Pelosi says it could be 3 months or so before her husband is back to normal. And more news involving violence against lawmakers. In Maryland, a man who threatened to murder Senator Ted Cruz takes a plea deal. According to his plea agreement, Justin Kucha sent a profanity-laced message threatening to kill Senator Ted Cruz. Kucha pleaded guilty to interstate communication containing a threat to injure. He faces up to 5 years in prison and is set for sentencing in April. Elon Musk meets with White House officials. The topic? Electric vehicles. It comes as House Republicans are looking into how Twitter handled the Hunter Biden laptop story. NTD's Iris Tao has more.
The White House confirms that Tesla and Twitter CEO Elon Musk met with 2 top Biden officials on Friday. The topic was how the car maker and administration could work together to produce more electric vehicles.
you.
Mark a turning of the page of the relationship between this White House and Elon Musk?
I will say that I think the outreach and the meeting says a lot of how important the president thinks the bipartisan infrastructure legislation is and how the Inflation Reduction Act is, especially as it relates to EVs.
Meanwhile, aside from EVs, the White House was asked today if the Hunter Biden laptop story came up during the conversation between the Twitter CEO and the White House. The press secretary wouldn't give a clear yes or no.
Did his Twitter ownership come up at all?
No.
And then what about the topic of Hunter Biden's laptop?
I would refer to Hunter's representatives on that.
During his time in Washington this week, Musk also met with House Speaker Kevin McCarthy and House Democratic leader Hakeem Jeffries. McCarthy says the three talked about how to make sure that Twitter is fair to both parties.
He wants to have a level playing field for everybody to have a voice. He's really defending the First Amendment.
Musk's meeting in Washington also come as the House Oversight Committee is holding a hearing next month to dig into Twitter's handling of the Hunter Biden laptop story. House Republicans are also vowing to investigate communications between the Biden White House and big tech companies, citing concerns over censorship of conservative voices. Reporting from the White House, Iris Tao, NTD News.
Former Congresswoman Myra Flores is the first Mexican-born member of the United States Congress. Flores, a former Democrat turned Republican, has been very outspoken when it comes to the matter of border security. We had a chance to sit down with the former Texas Congresswoman to discuss. Congresswoman, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me.
Congresswoman, you represented a border district. If you could just kind of paint the picture for us and what it's really actually like in some of those border towns.
Well, it's really unrecognizable. I've never seen anything like this before. My husband is a Border Patrol agent, and I've never been worried about my husband's life like I am today. Ever since the Biden administration took office, we have seen thousands, hundreds, millions of people coming into our country illegally, women and children who are being abused, who are being raped, and children being sold into child sex trafficking. This is a reality. This is a harsh reality that is happening at our southern border, and it needs to be prioritized. This isn't political. It shouldn't be a Republican or a Democrat issue. This is a human issue. This is what's best not only for immigrants, but also for the American people. We need to keep the American people safe. Fentanyl is coming into our country illegally. It's killing thousands of people. It's killing our children. Your children are my children. My children are your children. They're just as important. So it's so important that we raise more awareness of how dangerous this drug is.
You raise a lot of really good points, and thank you for your husband's service. I do want to ask you about the morale of Border Patrol. There seems to be a record number of Border Patrol agents committing suicide. If you could speak to that, and also touch on the human trafficking. I mean, this is something that I think is a lot of times overlooked as well.
Our Border Patrol agents are broken. We have lost friends. Just in a few months, we have lost 2 friends that were personally our friends that my husband worked with. And it was very difficult. It's been very difficult. We've been in already 3 funerals in just 2 months. It really put a different perspective. Also for me, I turned on my husband and said, "Are you okay? Is there anything that I can do for you?" Because I know that he's going through so much at work, but we're blessed to have a very strong family, but I know that it's been very difficult for him. And like I said, I was never worried about him before, and now I'm constantly checking on him, or he's checking with me, just because I just want to know that, want to make sure that he's okay. And yes, child trafficking is a reality in our country. We lead on child trafficking, and that's something that we should all come together. There's issues that separates us, but I know this issue is something that unites us. And I think that in our country, we need to focus more on issues that bring us together. I know we're very divided right now politically, but it weakens us as a country. If Americans stop talking to each other, it does. We need to start talking to each other, and what we will realize is that we actually agree on more things than what we think. And I know that human trafficking, child trafficking is something that we all agree that we need to focus on. And by securing the border, we're actually lowering child sex trafficking, human trafficking. And we need to have more resources for victims of human trafficking, for victims of child trafficking as well.
So switching gears a little bit, you know, there's talk of the vast influx of illegal immigration being, you know, what people would call economic migrants, people seeking a better life, which is great, but there is a legal process for that. How do you differentiate or make sure that those fleeing communist countries, for instance, Cuba or China, are coming here and are able to still be able to seek refuge immediately?
Well, the problem is that a lot of migrants are taking advantage of our asylum claims. So we fix the asylum claims, we're actually going to help the people that actually do have a legitimate claim. Right now, everyone is claiming asylum, and we know that the majority of them actually don't have a legitimate claim. So by us enforcing the laws that we already have in place and also working and supporting bills that will secure the border, but that also will fix the asylum process. And right now we do have bills that will do that. It's so important to support the Texas bill. There's a lot of members here in Texas and throughout the country that are supporting this bill that will fix the asylum claims, because again, they're being taken advantage, and we want to be able to help those that actually do have a legitimate claim. And I believe that it needs to be a top priority. Border security and asylum claims need to be a top priority for us all.
Former Texas Congresswoman Myra Flores, thank you so much.
Thank you so much. God bless.
Thank you for watching the Capitol Report. If you want to see our full broadcast, check us out at epochtv.com.